Yeah, it looks like she's coming back in.
Yeah.
She's still at work, maybe.
How can you know?
Yeah, because Robin advised her, Brian.
No. She went off on her own anyway. There we
she
go.
is.
Okay, you're at home.
She's
Can
at
you hear
home.
us
She's
now?
at home.
I can hear you now. I can hear you now. I just had to go out and back in to get that right, but sometimes it's like that.
It is.
So
Well done.
where are you sitting, Lil?
I'm at home. I'm at home.
So,
Yeah, where?
In the computer room.
Oh, that's better because it's getting dark.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Harriet. Hello, Robin. Hello, Mom and Dad. Hello,
Harriet.
Rita.
Hi,
Hello,
everybody.
Marian.
Hi.
Hello.
Rita, how are you doing? Shall we start? Are you happy to start?
We start immediately. I'm pleased we found everyone in this living on the edge pandemic age. And Temple Israel, Hillbrow, Johannesburg, South Africa is delighted to invite you to another in our incredible series of understanding how to present a service and understanding the format of a Jewish progressive service. Over to our educator and trainer, Lel Bethlehem.
Thank you very much, Rita. Hello, everybody. It's really lovely to all be together. Really great. I just love the fact that people are so engaged with learning. It's just, you know, I think we've developed a pretty special community, and it's lovely to be learning all together. So I want to just give us kind of a couple of ideas about where we find ourselves. So what we have done so far is we have learned the first part of the service, the blessings and the praises. And we've then learned the second part, which is the Shema and its blessings, which starts with the Baruch Hu and really goes through to the Mi Chamocha and on to preparing for the Amidah. So it is then time to start the Amidah. What I thought we should just do briefly tonight, before we start the Amidah, is to take a quick detour into the evening service. Because having learned the morning service, I don't think it would be the right thing to kind of start again with the evening service, because the evening service is very similar to the morning service, and it really only differs in respect of two main prayers that we could learn tonight, because they both occur before the Amidah. And those two prayers are both particularly beautiful. So I'm going to take us on a quick detour into the evening service, so that when you are in shul for an evening service, you know what's happening and why the different prayers are there. So we're going to learn really the Ma'ariv Aravim and the Hashkidainu, both beautiful prayers. And then we will start on the Amidah. I estimate that we need another four, maybe 5 sessions to finish learning the Siddur. So that'll take us pretty much to the end of April. So I hope everybody will still be fine to carry on. There'll be holidays here and there, Pesach, public holidays. So we'll just, be flexible. Next week is okay. And then I hope by the end of April, we will have gone through the entire Siddur. What I propose thereafter, for those who are keen, is to offer a Hebrew reading class. So some people here read, others don't. Some people haven't read much since their bar or bat mitzvah, and a couple of people have asked if we can do some reading. So I will then offer the same Tuesday slot if that suits people, or we could change the day to learn to read Hebrew. And then, by the time you can read Hebrew and you understand the Siddur, then really it's all at your fingertips, and you can lead services, you can pray by yourself, you can participate anywhere in any shul, you can walk into a shul anywhere in the world and be able to follow what is happening in that service. So that's what I'm proposing. So that means a quick detour tonight through the evening service. So Jacob has load shedding tonight, which hasn't stopped him from joining us and hosting us, but it has stopped him from being able to operate the prayer book electronically. So I'm going to do that. Can everybody see the Mishkan Tefillah?
A little bit small.
Okay, let's see if I can
Yes,
zoom it
thanks.
out. There we go. Oh, maybe a little too big. Okay, I hope that's reasonably good. So by the way, the Mishkan Tefillah is the book that we use in every progressive shul at the moment. There have been predecessors. This is quite recent, so I think it'll be with us for quite some time. I think it's a lovely prayer book. As you see on the facing page, in any instance, there is a kind of an alternative. Sometimes it's a translation or a loose translation. Sometimes it's a text in English that is simply inspired by what is suggested by the Hebrew. And I find some of them particularly beautiful. It is worth dipping in. Some of them are a little bit flowery, perhaps, at least to my taste, but some are really wonderful. Okay, so tonight we are looking at the weekday evening service. The Shabbat service is, of course, similar, but it will usually have additional psalms, and particularly psalms for the Shabbat. So you'll remember that the weekday morning service starts with the brachot and with the psalms. So the evening service, the way it's done in the Mishkan Tefillah and many prayer books, is it just opens with a bracha, which in this case is a lovely bracha, Baruch atah Adonai, Makor Nefesh Kol Chai, which means, bless you, O God, who is the source, the fountain of every living soul. So it's really saying, thank you, God, you are the fountain, you are the source of each of the neshama of each one of us. It doesn't do any psalms. So if you were praying a Shabbat evening service or a festival evening service, you wouldn't just start like this, you would start with some psalms, because that is generally how we as Jews get into the service. And in particular, on a special day, that is to say a Shabbat or a Chag, we would always start with psalms. And you know that from attending shul Friday nights, for example. In particular, Friday night, you'll do, the particular instances for Shabbat, including the Chadodi. And before we finish our course by the end of April, I do intend to just go through the Shabbat service and how it differs both in the evening and during the day. But just to go back to the sort of skeleton of the service. So here we are in the evening service. We start off with just a bracha just to get us into it. And then we go straight on to what I think will now be familiar to you, which is the Shema and its blessing. So we're leaving out the whole section of the brachot and the tehillim, the blessings and the praises, and we go straight on to the Shema and its blessings. So how does the Shema and its blessings start? We know from the morning that the Shema and its blessings starts with the Baruch Hu. The Baruch Hu is the call to prayer. So the first thing that happens is the prayer leader says in a voice of imperative, in a commanding voice, bless God to whom praise is due, Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach, and we respond, Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. We praise God to whom praise is due forever and ever, and we do a little bow. We don't have to, it's a tradition. We are signaling our respect for, submission to, entering into a space with God. And we then go on to, well, what comes after the Baruch Hu. So in the morning, the passage that comes after the Baruch Hu is the one that we learned a couple of weeks ago, which is the Yotzer Or. And we said that the Yotzer Or has as its themes light and darkness, the coming of the morning, in particular the rising of the sun, the way in which the sun lights up the earth. We thank God for the heavenly lights, and we ask that the heavenly lights will praise God. So unlike some, I guess ancient religions, which in fact worshipped the sun and moon, we've never worshipped the sun and moon. What we say is we call on the sun and moon to worship God. We say, may they, the heavenly lights, also praise God. So we are with the sun and moon in the same relationship to God, which is one of praise. So that's what we say in the morning. In the evening, we say a parallel prayer. a prayer which has the same themes, the themes of light and darkness, the themes of transition from, in this case, from day to night, rather than from night to day, and the magnificence, splendor, and wonder of the natural world that God created. So the theme of the Ma'ariv Aravim is the same as the theme of the Yotzer Or. It is the splendor of the creation, but now it focuses on evening things rather than morning things. And I must say, truly, this Ma'ariv Aravim prayer is really one of the most beautiful and poetic prayers in the entire Siddur. It is a prayer that deals with transition. It is a prayer that deals with gradual change. It is a prayer that can be read both literally and symbolically. And in the Hebrew, it is particularly poetic. So let me teach you a little bit about the prayer. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitbuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim b'mishvarotehem, barakia kirtzono. So anyone who is learning to read or preparing perhaps for a bar or bat mitzvah knows that the first line of the Ma'ariv Aravim is very long. You've got to keep going. It only, the first sentence, I should say, ends halfway down the prayer there at Kirtzono. So let me go back and tell you what it means. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. We bless you, our God, the ruler of the universe. Asher beyado Ma'ariv Aravim. In whose hand is the coming of the evening, in whose hand is the bringing on of the evening. But the Hebrew doesn't put it quite that way. It says, in whose hand is the evening of the evening. So the word evening is turned into a verb. We bless you, O God, in whose hand is the evening of the evening, is the bringing of the evening, is the delivery of the evening. In whose hand it is to make the evening fall. Goes on to say, B'chochma poteach she'arim. In your wisdom, O God, you open gates. Uvitvuna meshane itim. And in your understanding, you change times or eras or seasons. Umachalif et hazmanim, and you swap around the seasons. Umesader et hakochavim, b'mishmarotehem barakia kirtzono, and you order the stars in the heaven according to your will. So what have we said so far? We've said, God, you bring on the evening, you open gates, you bring about changes in eras or times, and you bring about changes in the season. So all of these things are about shifts between day and night, the shift between one season and another, just as we are beginning to feel now. I'm sure you've noticed it in the mornings. Shifts between eras, shifts between epochs. So we say, God, thank you that you've brought on the evening. It is within your hand to do it. But also we know that in your wisdom, you change not only the night, the day to the night, but you change one season to another. You change eras, you change epochs, you change times, and you order the stars in the heaven according to your will. So this gives us a clue that the writers of the prayer knew that the stars followed a pattern. that the stars were not random, that there is an order in the stars, that they are in the constellations, that they come and go with different times of year, and that the author said, we know, God, that you order the stars in the heaven according to your will. Hamasader, you can hear the word Seder, order. Hamasader et hakochavim, who orders the stars, b'mishmorotehem, in their heaven, according to your will. Borei yom v'layla, you create day and night. Golel or mipnei choshech, vechoshech mipnei or, and you roll the day off the night, and you roll the night over to the day. So the word golel comes from the word to roll. So it says, oh God, you roll the day into the night, and then you roll the night into the day. So this is an image of transition, just like it really is, just like the sunrise and the sunset and the feeling that we have now of the evening coming. It's not sudden. It's not that you switch on a light, it's done. It's rolling. It's a transition. God is rolling the day into the night. Uma'avir yom umevi laila, and you end the day and you bring on the night. Umavdil ben yom uvein laila, and you make a distinction between day and night. Mavdil, you can hear the word havdalah, to distinguish. Umavdil ben yom uvein laila, you distinguish between day and night. Adonai tzvaot shemo, Adonai tzvaot, Adonai of hosts is his name. El Chai v'Kayam, God who is living, El Chai v'Kayam, and exists, God who is living and real. Tamid yimloch aleinu, may you always rule over us, forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim, we bless you, O God, who brings on the evening, who causes the evening to fall, who evenings the evening. And so we've dealt with a beautiful prayer that praises God for bringing on the evening, for transitions between day and night, between one season and another, between one epoch and another, who creates both day and night and distinguishes between them, and who is the source of both light and darkness. And we celebrate, notice, bring to consciousness the beauty of the natural world, as we do with Yotzer Or in the morning, which is where this prayer would be, by referring to the stars in their heaven, which God has ordered according to his will. So I love the Ma'ariv Aravim. I think it really just brings on the evening. It just shifts us into another space. It shifts our consciousness. And like the Yotzer Or, it brings to mind the beauty and splendor of the natural world. I'll sing it, I'll chant it for you quickly. It's one you will have heard many times before. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim v'chochma poteach she'arim uvitfuna meshane itim umachalif et hazmanim umesader et hakochavim b'mishmorotehem barakia kirtzono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or Uma'avir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo, El Chai v'Kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu, leolam va'ed baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. So that would take the place of the Yotzer Or if we are dealing with the evening service. We would then go on to the Ahavat Olam, which is the parallel prayer to the one that is said in the morning, which is the Ahava Rabbah. And it deals with exactly the same themes. It says that God loved us greatly, loved the people of Israel greatly, and we know that because he gave us Torah and mitzvot, chukim, laws, mishpatim, principles, precepts, and that he has taught these to us. And so we will meditate on these when we lie down and when we rise up, and we will keep them in our mouths, and we will reflect on them. And then there's a lovely line here, Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yamenu, for the words of Torah are our lives and the length of our days. And we ask God that you never remove your love from us. So it is a very similar prayer to the Ahava Rabbah. It deals with the same themes. It reminds us that we are supposed to speak of the words of Torah, in particular the Shema, both day and night. And it says that we know that God loves us because he has given us the Torah, and that it is our job to learn it, to meditate on it day and night. For these words, they are our lives and the length of our days. And we ask God that you never take your love away from us. And if you remember the Ahava Rabbah, or if you compare the texts of the two, you will find that they are not identical in text, but they are identical in theme. And it is really just a restatement of the same sentiments of the Ahava Rabbah, but now for the evening. So you can see it's a parallel system. Instead of Yotzer Or, we have Ma'ariv Aravim. Instead of Ahava Rabbah, we have Ahavat Olam. These are just alternatives for the evening rather than for the day. And that would then, of course, take us into the Shema. The Shema itself does not differ at all, that we have already learned the text of the Shema. The Va'ahavta, we've learned that being the first portion of the Shema, dealing in particular with the mitzvot of the mezuzah and the tefillin. Then we've got the second paragraph, which we discussed last week, which is omitted in the Reform Siddur, dealing as it does with consequence, with the principle of crime, with kind of principle of sort of crime and punishment, in a sense that if we do wrong things, we will be punished, with the principle of reward, and very much believing in reward in this world, as well as punishment in this world, but just generally dealing with the principle of consequence. So that is omitted in the Reform Siddur, but recited silently in the Orthodox Siddur. And then we go on to the third paragraph of the Shema, the one that deals with the tzitzit. So interestingly, and I didn't realize this, but in the evening section of the Mishkan Tefillah, the paragraph dealing with the tzitzit is omitted altogether. You'll remember when we studied the morning service that the paragraph is there on the facing page. It's just generally not said. But the paragraph that deals with the tzitzit is included. Here, just the last paragraph of that third section is included, which is something that we always recite in the Reform Shul. But the longer version dealing with the tzitzit, with the talus, is omitted here in this section. So I must just pause here because Jacob asked me a question last week that I didn't answer well. And it is also a question that Marian has asked me before. She asked me the question ages ago, years ago maybe. So I decided, right, let me actually now go off and use the opportunity to learn the answer properly. So the question that Jacob asked was, why are there no blue cords on the tzitzit? Because it says there in the text, you shall put a cord of blue. And the word that is used for blue is techelet. So why don't we have blue? Now it's true, some tzitzits have a blue cord, some include, and many include the color blue, but some don't. Does that mean it's not a kosher? Tell us, what is going on with the blue? So it turns out that there is in fact a Talmudic dispute about what blue we are talking about, and about where to get the dye that creates such a blue. And it turned out that there was a particular creature found in the Red Sea, known as chilazon, and that the ink of that sea creature was the one that could create this particular blue. And there were different opinions among rabbis. If you could not find that creature, if you did not have that to hand, then were you still supposed to do the blue or not? And there were different views about that, but the dominant view became that you could have blue, but you don't have to. And in fact, the fact that we no longer actually know what that creature is, because it turns out that we don't, shows our diminished spiritual state, shows the fact that we have, in some senses, since the time of the Torah, descended or declined, and therefore we signal that by not having the blue, by just having the white. And the white will still remind us, as it is supposed to, of the words of Torah, but we will not have a blue because we are not sure that that's the blue. But if you do have a blue, it's also okay. But you're not required to, because you don't know if it's the right blue. And it wasn't really blue. It referred to this particular color that came from that practice. So we know that the Talmud and all the rabbinic works that came after the Talmud, all the way up to the Shulchan Aruch and I guess also beyond, took what is written in the Torah and embellished it and discussed it and questioned it and, added a whole lot of nuances. So that's the nuance that's created with the tzitzit. And that is why we don't actually worry about whether there's a cord of blue, even though the text tells us that we should have this color in the tzitzit and that it should help us to remind ourselves. All right, so that is what would then happen with the Shema. We'd go on to the Shema, we'd do Emet ve'emunah, all exactly the same. So everything is exactly the same. The Micha Mocha is exactly the same as what we've learned for the morning service. You already know it. Until we get here to one of really the most lovely prayers of the Jewish liturgy. Maybe I say that a little too often, but I really mean it about this one. I guess I really mean it about a lot of them. The Hashkivenu is one that we were using a lot during the heavy winter lockdown last year, because we were praying the evening service because it was dark, and because the Hashkivenu is so beautiful. And because the Hashkivenu, which is said only in the evening, so that's why we didn't learn it in the morning service, because it isn't there. It is a prayer for lying down. It is the prayer to be said upon lying down. It is a prayer that is said only in the evening. So if you only ever go to shul in the morning, you'll miss out on the Hashkivenu. If you only go in the evening, you'll miss out on those beautiful morning brachot. That's why you've got to do both. But the Hashkivenu is a prayer that is a prayer for personal protection. This is why it was so meaningful to us during lockdown. It is a prayer that each of us says and that we say collectively to ask God to protect us. And what are we asking God to protect us from? All sorts of dangers. Enemies, illnesses, diseases, war, famine, anguish, sorrow, suffering. So it is an individual prayer that we say when we are afraid. And we've been afraid this past year. So it's a prayer that we say when we're lying down, we're going to bed, maybe it's dark, maybe we're scared. We are in some difficulty. It's nighttime, we surrender ourselves to sleep. And we pray that God will protect us. And so this is what the prayer says, really a prayer to treasure and say and keep with you in the evenings. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom. O God, make us lie down in peace. In fact, it says, O God, lie us down in peace. So it's a little bit like a prayer you might say with a child. You say, God, lie us down in peace. Lay us down. Take us and put us down to rest, like you might put down a baby. Hashkivenu, lie us down, O God, l'shalom, lie us down in peace. Ha'amidenu shomrenu lechayim. And may we get up tomorrow to life renewed. May we rise up tomorrow and be still alive. So we're saying, God, lie us down in peace and look after us while we sleep, so that tomorrow we wake up and we are still alive. Ufaros aleinu sukat shlomecha, and spread over us the shelter of your peace. So like you know the word sukkah, a shelter, here it is. Ufaros, and spread aleinu, and spread over us sukat shlomecha, the sukkah of your peace, the shelter of your peace, and spread over us the shelter of your peace. V'taknenu be'etza tova milfanecha, and give us your good advice, give us your guidance, help us to know what to do. V'hoshi'enu, and save us, rescue us. Lema'an shemecha, in accordance with your name. So we say to God, oh God, please lie us down in peace. Let us wake up tomorrow to life renewed. While we are sleeping, protect us. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Give us your guidance and good advice. And if needs be, rescue us, save us. And then we go on to say what it is we want to be protected from. We say, V'hagem ba'adenu, and protect us. You all know the word Haganah. One of the Zionist movements was called the Haganah, which means protection. Haganah, v'hagem ba'adenu, and protect us. V'haser me'alenu, and keep away from us. What do we ask God to keep away from us? Here is now a list of things that we want God to keep away from us. What are they? Oyev, enemies. Dever, disease or illness or viruses. Cherev, war. Ra'av, hunger. Yagon, sorrow or desperation. So we say to God, please protect us from enemies, from illnesses, from wars, from hunger, from anguish. Please, God, keep all of those things away from us. Ve'harchek mimenu avon v'afesha, and keep far from us sorrows and disasters. So we're saying to God, please protect us from these things. And then we go on to a slightly more sort of positive note, but along the same lines. Uvatzel kenafecha tastirenu, and shelter us in the shadow of your wings. Tuck us under your wings, O God, and shelter us there. In the shade, the word sel, in the shade of your wings. Envelop us in the shade of your wings. Ki el shomrenu umatzilenu ata, for you are the God that protects us and saves us. Ki el chanun v'rachum ata, for you are the God that is gracious and merciful. Ushamor tzeitenu uvoenu, and protect our going out and our coming in. Here we are this moment safe in our homes, but tomorrow we will go out and come in again. Please God, we didn't for a while. And protect us when we go out and when we come in, as we move around in the world. Protect our going out and our coming in, l'chayim u'l'shalom, for life and for peace. Me'ata, from now, ve'ad olam, and forever. Baruch ata Adonai, shomer amo Yisrael la'ad. We bless you, O God, who protect your people Israel forever. So I'll come back in a moment to the last line. So Hashkivenu is saying to God, please allow us, God, to lie down in peace. Let us wake up tomorrow to life renewed. We still want to be alive tomorrow. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. And please, God, protect us. Defend us and protect us from enemies, from hunger, from illness, from sorrow, from anguish, and keep wars and disasters away from us, and tuck us into the shadow, into the shade of your wings, and save us. And may our going out and our coming in be peaceful, because we know, God, that you are merciful and gracious. That is the Hashkidenu. Now, the last line, the bracha at the end, there are several different versions. This one says, Baruch atah Adonai, shomer amo Yisrael la'ad. We bless you, O God, who protects his people Israel forever. Other versions say, Haporei sukat shalom aleinu, va'al kol amo Yisrael, va'al Yerushalayim, which means, we bless you, O God, who spreads the shelter of peace over us, over all Israel, and over Jerusalem. Or you can say, Haporei sukat shalom aleinu, va'al kol Yisrael, va'al kol ha'olam. We bless you, God, who spreads the shelter of his peace over us, over all Israel, and over all the world. So that is the Hashkidenu. I remember Rabbi Adi Asabi of blessed memory used to sing this prayer with such feeling and such beauty. And I've always loved it. So let me also chant it for you. Hashkidenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim tovim u'leshalom u'feros aleinu sukat shalomecha v'takneinu v'etza tova mimfanecha v'hoshienu למען שמך והגן בעדנו והסר מעלינו אויב דבר וחרב רעב ויגון והסר שטן מלפנינו מאחורינו ובצל כנפיך תסתירנו כי אל שומרנו בתילנו אתה, כי אל מלך חנון ורחום אתה, ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום, מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס, סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל כל העולם. Lovely prayer to learn and sing at night, particularly if you are anxious. So that is the Hashkivenu, and then you will be now familiar with how things work. Up comes the Chatzi Kaddish, which tells us that we are at the end of the section. And from there, we find ourselves now in the realm of the Amidah. So we have just a few minutes left. So I'm not going to try and teach the Amidah now. What I am going to do is just remind us about the little prayer that we say right at the beginning of the Amidah. It's just those two lines, and I'll just say what the prayer means and why we step backwards and forwards. So let me just get us there. And then next week, we will learn properly the Amidah, what it is all about. Forgive me, I've just got to flip a little more to the Amidah. So as you know, the word Amidah means to stand, and we always recite the Amidah standing. The Amidah is also known as the Tefillah, which simply means the prayer. And that is because the Amidah is the most central section of prayer in the Jewish service. It is the center of prayer. So it is known either as the Amidah, because it is said standing, or as the tefillah, the prayer. It is also sometimes known as the avodah, which means the work or the labor. So it is the main task, if you like, of the service. And we are going to learn all about it next week. It is a most beautiful construction. It's got 3 sections. The first section deals with praises of God. The second section deals with requests or supplications. And the third section deals with thanksgiving. On Shabbat, we don't recite the middle section, being the supplications. We only recite the first section and the last section, which is why many Reformed Jews, because we tend to go to shul on Shabbat, right? So many Reformed Jews don't know the whole middle section because we don't often pray on a weekday. And we will be learning that middle section as well, even if it is unfamiliar. So that is all the joy of next week. But I'll just give a little sort of teaser by introducing these lines. So these lines are the preparation for prayer. So they are the moment that we take to sort of enter the presence of God and to begin the process of the Amidah. And it is a very beautiful sort of idea that you request God to help you to pray. You say to God, I pray that I will pray well. So you say, Adonai, God, Sfatai tiftach, open my lips. Ufi yagid tehillatcha, and my lips, my mouth will tell of your praises, will declare your praise or your glory. So we then take the 3 steps back and forward. It is not a commandment. It is an Ashkenazi thing to do. It's not a Sephardi thing to do. It's a tradition. And you just do it because it helps you now to enter into the sort of inner sanctum. You've done the praises, you've done the blessings, you've done the Shema and its blessings, the Baruch Hu, the Shema, the Micha Mocha, and you've arrived now at this point, the center of the prayer, the Tefillah. You take a deep breath, you take your steps backwards, you take your steps forwards, you are now in the presence of God. Your kavanah, your intention is strong, you are in the zone, you are ready, and now you recite the Amidah, and then you simply say, Adonai Sfatai tiftach, God, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praises. Adonai Sfatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehillatcha, eternal God, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. And that then leads us into the Amidah itself, which we will, please God, study next week. I think the Amidah will take us at least 2 classes, maybe 3. And after the Amidah, we are left with the Torah service and its traditions, and with the concluding prayers. So the Amidah is really the heart of it. We will discuss it next week. I look forward to being with everybody again. So as usual, I'll be available now for questions and discussion. Anybody who needs to leave, no problem. Thank you very much to everybody for being part of this community of learning, and lots of love.
Thank you very much, Lael. I just want to add one thing. When you talked about Rabbi Asabi and how he loved that prayer, he would never let anybody else sing it. We once had a cousin from America in Johannesburg at his service, and he said she can sing what she likes, but not my parts. And he just loved it so much. So when you said he loved it, I had already said to Daddy, you remember how he used to love it. And like, there's a question from Harriet.
Harriet.
On your chat.
Okay, sorry, I haven't been looking at the chat.
No, it's fine.
Can you repeat it for me? I can't seem to.
Sure. No, I'm just curious. Very often you give your own translation, which is lovely, but not the one that's there. Is that because you think it's thin or not so accurate?
So Harriet, thanks. It's a great question. I think it is. you know, they all are interpretations. I think it's kind of flowery. Flowery, you know, if you look at different Siddurim, you know, so for example, the Orthodox Siddurim often give a very, very, no problem, thanks, Peter, often give a very literal translation. And I think that also doesn't work. And also the Orthodox Siddurim often give for some reason, they put the English into Old English. I don't know why you would think you need to put it into Old English, why, like, I don't know. But it's either in Old English or it's very sort of heavy and literal. So the Reformed Siddurim didn't want to do that. So they wanted to make it more accessible, because for many people, they will only be praying in English, or they will not know anything about the prayer, and they will only access it through the English text. But I think that sometimes the translation is just a little flowery. And so, yeah, I do love to share like what I can see about the meaning. And it's also quite nice to look at different Siddurim and to see how they translate it differently.
No, it's nice to
Also-
see the difference. So thanks.
If I may add here, both to Harriet and Leil, it is the Jewish tradition going back centuries that people always translated the Hebrew word, and the rabbis argue about which translation was correct. So it's wonderful, Leil, that we're actually following in ancient tradition by looking at your interpretations of the Hebrew word. It's part of our tradition. It's wonderful.
So, and I
What I
guess
also
Harriet,
like about it is that you give us the word, the translation, and it brings back Cheder days when I remember Yad as hand, but Bayadim gave to us and that. And so it really does connect me more with it, which is so nice.
Yeah, it's direct translations from the Hebrew.
Yeah.
you know, Harriet is a person who works with language, you know, editing and words. And so, you know, like, you know, Harriet, there's like so many ways to certainly translate a thing and so many ways to say a thing. But for, you know, anyway, so thank you for that lovely question. And Rob's like, when we do the Hebrew reading, we'll do a little bit of vocab as well. I don't promise to teach you to speak Hebrew, but it's a bigger task. But like, as you say, Asher B'yado, in his hand is the Sukkot Shlomecha, the sukkah of your peace, the shelter of your peace. Yeah, nice to pick up those things.
Very nice.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Leil.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Seeing you all.
Harold, I want to say thank you to you for your message last week, Harold. Thank you very much. It's Marlene.
Hello, Peter.
Leil?
Hi, Peter. How are you doing? I'm
Okay,
sorry.
You don't return my calls, eh?
I did try last night, Peter. I do apologize. I didn't during the day, but I did try last night a couple of times.
Oh, sorry, my phone was being charged.
No problem. But should I call you now?
No, I just want to say something about you and your family.
Please carry on.
I really feel that you and your mother and your father are real tzaddikim, what you are doing for the community and also what you are doing for Temple Israel. And I really appreciate that you do all the Yontif services for Temple Israel.
Thank you, Peter. It means so much to me that you should say that. Thank you so much. And you know, our families have been connected for many, many years. I believe that you met my mom when you were both still kids.
Yes,
yeah, and was one of our dear friends.
My mother worked with your mother at Benevolent.
At Benevolent. Isn't that amazing how our families are so connected? And it means a lot to me for you to say that. Thank you, Peter.
And really, you're bringing up your children like real tzaddikim.
Thank you. I'm trying. Tell me, how's Harold doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Are you there? You are, Harold. How are you?
Right there. I'm doing well, thanks.
Good. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And listen, thanks for all the efforts on Thursdays. And I'm going to come around this Thursday, and we'll have the meeting that we need to have.
Just one thing about I want to ask everybody.
Sure.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, I want to I don't know how to say it. I want to appeal to anybody who wants to donate to the Thursday morning handout to the people in Hillbrow. We are doing a drive for clothes, and especially winter clothes, because winter is coming up soon.
Okay. Good idea. Good idea.
Okay.
Peter.
If people haven't got clothes, or they want to donate 10 Rand or anything, they welcome to donate, please.
Okay, terrific.
Thank you. May I have a few words? Thank you.
Reva.
Sorry, before I finish, I want to know, Lael and Reva, are we still doing the handout over Pesach?
All right. May I answer that?
Because one of the rabbis I go to on a Saturday says that if you got chumet,
Yeah.
lock it up and not have anything to do with it.
Yeah, that's a
All
problem.
right. Now, I'm going to quickly bring you into this latest, typically Jewish, where every Jew in the entire world has their own version of what's right, what's wrong, and have different red lines. So I'm pleased that Peter is part of that. But there's been a huge discussion because there was a discussion between, of course, we're not going to make sandwiches, not that I ever do, but those are not going to, no one should have bread or hummus in their home. We all universally agree on that, Jacob, Marion, myself, and Peter. However, there was the suggestion that instead of that, we buy bags of cut bread like we used to do on a Saturday morning, because this Thursday is not new for us. It's just replaced our Saturday. And with Beit Emmanuel's help, we've been able to enlarge it dramatically. So there was the suggestion that we buy just normal loaves of cut bread and just let Winnie or someone who wants to do it, no one has to touch bread if they don't want to, hand the people the 6 slices each, but Marion and Peter would then, with whoever was there, would hand out, you know, the Easter eggs or the clothes or the chocolates. So there's the big dispute about whether we should do this or not. And I really feel there is no definitive answer in Judaism, because the ultra-Orthodox will say something, Chabad will say something, the Progressive will, and every individual. So, Leo, I'm not sure that any one person here, including myself or you or a rabbi, could dictate what they must do. I personally think that Peter is right. We should not touch hummus or bread in our own homes at all for the sandwiches. But if there are those who want to buy and hand out slices, up to them. What would you say, Leo?
You know, so sorry, I'm just trying to adjust my camera a little bit. There, I think that's better. Okay, so I think that it would be better if we could find an alternative to bread for that 1 week. Eggs, fruit, then it doesn't put anyone in any difficulty. It is true that it may not be so easy to find an alternative to bread. But Rita, I hadn't anticipated the question. Unfortunately, can we think about it a bit? Maybe also ask Rabbi Sarah what he thinks.
Thank you.
And Beit Emmanuel what they think, and then we'll come up with an answer.
Thank you. We're pleased to have Peter ask you about this as well, and we'll certainly factor in whatever you say, and I think that would be terrific. I just want to take the opportunity of thanking your incredible mom for the most amazing donation she made to us to help us with all our strife. And I know I'm not supposed to mention it, Marlene. I'm sorry. Please forgive me for mentioning it. I'll never do it again.
Only with pleasure. Riva, it's from the bottom of our
Sorry.
hearts. You hosted our wonderful bat and bar mitzvah, and it was our small way of saying thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. We love you. We're very late. Goodbye for the 10 12 people, anyone who is attending this Friday night. It's Professor David Bilchett, Saturday morning with me and Marion. See you next Tuesday for those who won't be with us on Shabbat. Love you all. Shavua tov.
One thing before we close.
Yes, Peter.
I believe that Beit Emmanuel is not supplying sandwiches over Pesach.
All right, good. So that's part of the answer. So I'm sure we can find something else.
Right,
Good.
so we'll delay this till third. We'll have a joint discussion on this before Pesach. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Peter, for your attention to halakha in detail. Thank you, Leo. Thank you, Marion. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you,
And thank you,
everyone in the whole world, but especially Marlene.
Lots of love.
Shavua tov.
Bye-bye.
Very good. And thank you very much for all that you do too, Leo. Taking your time and teaching us all about the Siddur and how it works and how you should follow the Siddur.